the upscale restaurant I was invited to by Jennifer. Before eating, I went to the restroom. As I was about to return to the private room, I faintly heard Jennifer's voice through the slightly opened sliding door. "Yeah, Mike, he makes over $100,000 a year, but he's so stingy." She seemed to be complaining to someone on the phone. "The wife doesn't have inheritance rights?" "I know. But what belongs to the in-laws belongs to the wife. If he's hoarding it, I guess I'll have to use it." I was shocked. I thought she was cheerful and bubbly, completely opposite to me, but I wanted to get along. I started to feel sorry for thinking that way. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Unforgivable. I bit my lip. I'm gonna expose all the sneaky things she's been doing. You better brace yourself. My name is Susan. I'm a 67-year-old homemaker. I worked part-time for many years but retired after getting seriously ill. With the inheritance from my husband, who passed away 5 years ago, and my pension, I can live comfortably as long as I don't indulge too much. Now, I attend my choir hobby group 3 times a week and find joy in tending to my garden in between. I was worried about my son being single, but last year, he married Jennifer, whom he met at a city mixer. She's a bit flashy but a cheerful and beautiful woman. Turns out, they had secretly been dating for about a year. To my surprise, she proposed to Mike, saying, "I fell for your sincere personality. Let's get married." Mike works for a major company and earns well, so he gladly accepted Jennifer's wish to quit her job after getting married. Once they have a child and need money for education, Jennifer plans to work part-time again. They're both in their 30s. I thought they were cutting it close if they wanted to have kids, but I held my tongue, thinking they must have their reasons. Living about a 15-minute drive away in a condo, they visit during holidays and extended weekends. They help with yard work, accompany me on shopping trips, and even visit our ancestors' graves, which is a huge help. I believed our relationship would continue at this comfortable distance. Well, until that incident happened. I heard that Jennifer's hobby is trying out different eateries. Given her slender figure and pretty face, it's hard to imagine, but she says she has a metabolism where she doesn't gain weight and she frequently visits trendy spots she finds on social media and enjoys lunches at famous hotels. A full-time homemaker, and her hobby is dining out? Is she spending the money my son earns on transportation and meals? Such thoughts crossed my mind, but then I thought maybe she's using her own savings, so I refrained from prying too much. Then, about a month later, Jennifer invited me for lunch. We met directly at the venue and I followed her into a chic restaurant. This place was featured on a gourmet TV show. Their crab cream croquettes are to die for. Even celebrities have raved about it. Oh, that's a bummer. I can't eat it. When the waiter came to take our order and I opted for the pork cutlet sandwich set, a look of discomfort crossed Jennifer's face. "Susan, at your age, do you still have food preferences?" "No, I have a shellfish allergy." "Shell, what?" Jennifer's fake eyelashes fluttered as she opened her eyes wide in surprise. "I'm allergic to things like crab and shrimp. If I eat them, I get hives or stomach aches. It started suddenly when I became an adult." "Can't you just keep eating and eventually get over it?" "No way. If I have a severe reaction, it could be life-threatening." "Oh, sounds like a hassle." I was irked by Jennifer's comment, but more than that, I was dumbfounded by her lack of knowledge. I assumed someone from the younger generation would be more informed. Maybe she's uninformed because she doesn't have kids. However, that wasn't the end of it. It seemed like Jennifer had no intention of remembering my allergy. Despite mentioning it multiple times, she'd forget and offer me dishes with crab or shrimp. Once, during a meal out with my son included, she tried to order a shrimp fry set on my behalf, and another time, she served shrimp gratin when I visited her home. "Jennifer, remember my mom has a shellfish allergy. She can't eat crab or shrimp." When Mike would gently remind her, Jennifer would look sad, her eyebrows drooping, and let out a sigh. "I made it especially for Susan." "I'm sorry. I'll eat it later." Such conversations became a regular occurrence. And every time as I was leaving, Mike would apologize. "I'm sorry, Mom. Jennifer's forgetful. I owe her so much for her cheerful personality, so it's hard to confront her." I was like, I'm the one who should apologize. When Mike apologizes to me, I just can't find it in me to complain. I'd reply, forcing a smile and apologizing even when I'd done nothing wrong. After a year, Jennifer, who finally remembered that I have a shellfish allergy, began to frequently invite me out for meals. I've heard that Mike, who's busy with work, often has dinner with his juniors and colleagues. Probably she doesn't want to eat alone, which is why she invited me. While I appreciate the invitations, it's problematic when she drops by unannounced. Even though I've retired from my job, I still have commitments and plans. Especially on my choir practice days, I have to send Jennifer away. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and when there's a tournament or a music performance coming up, there's practice on weekends and holidays too. So, I really wish she'd call before coming. I've told her countless times, but Jennifer always pops in unexpectedly. The other day, she confronted me loudly at the front door. "Who's more important to you, me or your choir?" Obviously, the choir. I almost blurted out that, but I held back and ambiguously smiled, saying, "I'm sorry," and started my car. Of course, when I'm free, I try to accommodate her as much as possible. However, the restaurants Jennifer prefers are always the high-end ones that are popular on TV or in magazines. But since she's making the effort to invite me, I can't let my daughter-in-law pay, so I end up footing the bill. And every time when the bill comes, Jennifer shows the mobile phone hanging around her neck to the cashier. Please add the points. Yes. Every single time she dines and drinks on my dime, she cleverly gets the loyalty points. When I vented to a friend, they assumed I was just bragging about my good fortune. Being invited out by such a sweet daughter-in-law? They told me I should be grateful. Spending hundreds of dollars every time we eat out seems a bit much to me. But it's not like I'm struggling financially, and considering it's a way to bond with my daughter-in-law, it's hard to refuse. One day, as these frustrations accumulated, I received a call from Jennifer. Bracing myself for another dining invitation, I was surprised by the bubbly tone in her voice. "Hey Susan, did you win the county choir competition?" It seems Mike told her. I couldn't hide the pride in my voice. "Yes, I did. We're finally going to the national competition." "That's great. That's impressive." "Thank you." I couldn't help but smile. It's always nice to hear words of congratulations. Then Jennifer made a surprising offer. "Why don't we celebrate at a nice restaurant? And don't worry, it's on us." "That's sweet of you. Are you sure? You don't have to do this." Given her usual choice of upscale places, when Jennifer mentions a nice restaurant, I can't help but think she'll pick somewhere super fancy, and it gets me all jittery. It's all good. How about La Rouge Aurora, the gourmet restaurant near the next station? I hesitated for a moment. Sensing that, Jennifer said with a chuckle, "They don't just have crab dishes there. I've heard from friends that their French cuisine is exquisite. I'll send you some pictures now, let me know what you think." All right. My phone dinged as Jennifer sent over the images. My eyes widened in delight. Escargots in garlic butter, duck confit, and steak frites with béarnaise sauce. Each gourmet dish looked mouth-wateringly delicious. I replied to Jennifer that I'd be happy to try them out, and she sent back a smiling emoji saying she'd book a table for the three of us. I had already celebrated with my choir group, but getting to celebrate with family was unexpected. The bad impression I had of Jennifer started to fade, and I eagerly counted down the days. On the day, I met Jennifer near the station. "Mike's gonna be late because of work. If our order arrives first, go ahead and start without him." "Okay. It must be tough working on weekends." Walking down the brightly lit street filled with restaurants, we arrived at a restaurant with an elegant and exclusive atmosphere. It was the restaurant we had booked. Upon entering and stating our reservation, we were guided to a private room. On the wall was a classic French painting, and through the window, a beautiful view of a French-style garden could be seen. The room had an old-world elegance typical of a traditional French manner. "Susan, do you need to use the restroom?" "Yes, I'll go ahead." I placed my purse down and got up. A few years ago, after a certain illness, I had told Jennifer I needed to frequent the bathroom more. As I was about to return to our private room from the restroom, I heard Jennifer's voice through the slightly opened sliding door. "Right, even though Mike earns over $100,000 a year, he's such a miser." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It sounded like she was complaining to someone over the phone. I hid behind the sliding door, trying to listen in more. "I know a wife doesn't have inheritance rights, but whatever his parents own is mine too. If they're saving up, I might as well spend it." I was frozen in shock when someone gently tapped on my shoulder. I turned around, stifling a scream. A woman in an elegant evening gown gestured for me to be quiet. It was the restaurant owner I'd seen in their official video. She gestured towards a different private room further back, leading the way. Once inside, she, with her elegantly poised fingers, closed the door and with a tense expression shared something with me. "Ms. White, please get out of here right now." "Huh?" Looking surprised, she spoke to me with a serious expression. "I know it's presumptuous to ask you to trust a stranger like me, but everything I'm about to tell you is the truth." "Okay." "Actually, Jennifer White visited our place with an acquaintance of mine in the past." The restaurant owner then told me about the conversation she overheard at that time. I listened with a mix of skepticism and belief, and was left speechless by the shocking revelation. As I processed the information, anger began to bubble up within me. So, Jennifer had planned this all along. Unforgivable. I bit my lip. I'm gonna expose everything she's been doing behind the scenes. She better be ready. Still shaken by the restaurant owner's story, I left my private room, headed straight for the entrance, and walked out. On my way home, I called the police for advice, which eased my anxiety a bit. After arriving home, I acted like I knew nothing and contacted Jennifer. "I'm sorry. I felt sick, so I had to leave early. That throws off my plans." "Oh, never mind." Her hurried attempt to play it off convinced me that the restaurant owner's words must be true. To my surprise, I was disappointed. I guess a part of me wanted to believe her. "I'm really sorry. I'll treat you to dinner at another place as an apology." "Okay." After hanging up with Jennifer, I called another number and relayed our conversation. A week later, I called Jennifer. In an apologetic tone, I made a suggestion. "I'm really sorry about the other day. As an apology, how about dinner at the popular beef bourguignon restaurant, Le Fleur?" "Wait, you got a reservation at Le Fleur? Awesome!" I could hear Jennifer's excitement over the phone. "What's going on?" Suddenly, a young man's voice came from her end. "It seems like someone is with Jennifer." "We're getting a free meal at Le Fleur." "No way." "That's cool." "Jennifer, are you with a friend?" "Oops, yeah. I'm having dinner with a friend. Let me know the details later. Looking forward to it." After the call ended, I held onto my phone for a while. "Oh, I'm looking forward to it, too." With a smirk, I whispered to myself. A month later, right on time for our rendezvous, I met up with Jennifer and entered a restaurant. It had a different vibe from the traditional diners, cooler and more stylish. Upon being guided to a private room, Jennifer looked puzzled. "A table for 4? Are 2 more people coming?" I replied with a bright smile. "Yes, I invited a couple of friends. One of them you're quite familiar with." "Oh, I need to use the restroom. Be right back." Just like the last time, I left my purse in the room and stepped out briefly. Jennifer seemed concerned about the other patrons at first, but as soon as the lavish meal was served, she seemed completely captivated by it. Her eyes lit up, and she licked her lips in anticipation. "This is my first time eating this. The crispy coating and the fatty part are exquisite. It's completely different from the pork cutlets in ordinary restaurants. The vegetable cream soup with the herbs is delicious too. After such a conversation, just as we were about to dig into the main course, beef bourguignon, there was a soft knock and the wooden door opened. As Jennifer was poking the vibrant ruby-red beef with her fork, she reflexively looked towards the door and exclaimed in surprise.
Bob? Why are you here?
You invited me here, didn't you? Promised me some premium beef bourguignon.
I didn't call you. Who's that woman with you?
Standing next to the young man was the restaurant owner from the restaurant I had visited a few days ago. I didn't invite her. Come on, Sarah, explain. The restaurant owner stepped forward in front of an anxious Bob and gracefully bowed her head. Nice to meet you, Jennifer. I'm Sarah, Bob's ex-girlfriend. Thank you for visiting our restaurant twice. Oh, I see.
You're the restaurant owner from that place we went to the other day.
Yes, I invited Bob. Oh, and what does an ex want? Jennifer, seemingly eager to get back to her meal, narrowed her eyes suspiciously at Sarah. Just thought I should let you know, the conversation you had at our restaurant the other day was clearly audible outside. Both Jennifer and Bob went pale instantly.
You were still there? And you're the restaurant owner now? Eavesdropping on your guests? That's not professional at all.
I was just going to close the slightly ajar door when I overheard some dangerous talk. You're as careless as ever. In front of the flustered pair, Sarah took out her cell phone and played a recording. Jennifer and Bob's conversation played through the static.
When I snooped around Susan's place, I found a notebook with her pin. Since I peeked, I got it all figured out.
Heh, careless.
She'd never suspect her family would snoop. Couldn't find the bank card, but with online banking, as long as I have the PIN, I can transfer it all to my account.
Jennifer and Bob looked down, growing increasingly nervous.
When Susan goes to the restroom, I'll grab her credit card. Then, I'll drug her drink, order a ton more food, and just leave. She won't be able to pay, and might even get arrested. It'll be hilarious.
The content was so despicable that I felt like I was going to pass out. Did I really bring someone like her into my family?
I have to get all of my father-in-law's inheritance. I'll max out the credit card by buying stuff too. They're rich, but they live so frugally. They must have a stash hidden somewhere.
Jennifer and Bob stood still, looking anywhere but at each other. Sarah spoke sharply.
Allergic-prone Jane is always cautious about her food, making sure there's no crab or shrimp in it. So you thought she wouldn't notice if her drink tasted slightly off, didn't you?
Realizing they had exploited someone's allergies, I felt a deep sense of emptiness. I was genuinely happy when Jennifer said she'd celebrate our team's national championship win. You actually recorded it, huh? Bob whispered softly next to Jennifer, who was confronting Sarah.
You can't just record a customer's conversation. That's an invasion of privacy. It was to prevent fraud. I didn't want you guys scamming me out of money like you did with Bob. So, you've been doing this sort of thing before, haven't you?
As I glared Jennifer and Bob, Jennifer twisted her body and replied in a sickly sweet voice.
No, that's not it. Bob was being pestered by this woman, so I just tried to help him out. Plus, I didn't do anything to you, Susan. The conversation with Bob was just a joke.
Oh really? Sorry about that. I stood up, intentionally stumbling over Jennifer's bag placed on the floor. Contents spilled out from the unzipped bag. Spotting my card amidst the scattered items, I quickly snatched it and held it up high.
Now why is my card coming out of Jennifer's bag? That's strange.
What's this crumpled note? Drug the old hag with a bunch of sleeping pills, make her sleep, raid the shop, and then withdraw the old man's inheritance from the ATM. This will make the White family's savings mine.
That sounds like a crime plan.
The note spread out on the table was scribbled in Jennifer's messy handwriting. Bob clutched his forehead, groaning.
Idiot! Why were you carrying that around? I forget things easily. Forgot to throw it away.
With all this evidence, I thought she'd finally give in, but instead, Jennifer pointed a finger at me, getting even more angry.
It's mostly your fault. Me? Yes. Because you put such stingy thoughts into your son's head, I'm the one who's suffering.
I was taken aback as Jennifer distorted her beautiful face and continued.
Mike, even though he's a section manager at a major company and makes good money, he manages the finances himself. He only gives me an allowance of $1,000 a month. That's way too low. For a housewife, getting that much seems pretty generous.
Jennifer snapped at the shocked Sarah.
How? Mike told me to save from that, but once I go to fancy restaurants and spas, it's all gone. Bob just mooches off me after feeding him. It's not my fault. You're the one who cheated with an ordinary person.
Bob shrugged.
Hey, you proposed to Mike because of his sincerity, didn't you?
Jennifer twisted her lips into a smirk.
Of course not. I was attracted to his money and future prospects. I thought if I married him, I'd get to eat fancy food without working, but after marrying, I was disappointed by how stingy he was.
Bob, crossing his arms, nodded deeply.
When I found the bank book at my in-laws, there were a lot of zeros. Yeah, right. Since it's there, we should spend it, right? We're family after all. What's wrong with taking family money?
I felt drained. I couldn't even find the energy to be angry. I had hoped for a bright and cheerful daughter-in-law, someone opposite to me, to have a good relationship with, but now, I just felt sorry for my past self. I wonder how Mike, who had been listening from the other side of the door, felt. Just as I began to regret today's plan, the door quietly opened, and Mike entered. I see. Mike said briefly, looking coldly at the stunned Jennifer and Bob.
All the money I worked hard for, you were handing it over to this guy, huh? No! I was just treating him to nice food because he had no money. And helping him out with living expenses. It's the same thing. Well, it's partly my fault for not seeing Jennifer's true nature.
Taking a deep breath, Mike declared. Let's get a divorce. You should move out by tomorrow.
Huh? Wait a minute. If we get kicked out of our condo, where are we supposed to go? I won't be able to enjoy good food anymore.
A flustered Jennifer looked at Mike with pleading eyes and spoke in a pitiful voice.
I'm so sorry. I'll reflect on everything, just don't divorce me. I'll even break up with Bob.
It's too little, too late.
Divorce me and get a job yourself. I don't want to. I enjoy living luxuriously on my husband's money. It doesn't make sense with the money I earned myself.
Hearing her absurd reasoning, Mike shook his head tiredly.
Why don't you remarry another rich guy? Though, it seems you have something else to take care of first. Huh?
Excuse me. A man's voice echoed, and the door opened. A stern-faced man entered the room. I'm with the police.
Jennifer White and Bob Harrison, you are under suspicion for a drugging and robbery crime. Please come with us to the station.
They were shown a police badge. Jennifer and Bob, mouths agape, seemed unable to grasp the situation.
Why were you waiting for us? I called them. Both of you just attempted it this time, but it seems you might have more crimes up your sleeves. We need to check the recording on your phone, if you could please hand it over.
Neither Jennifer nor Bob had the courage to argue with the detective and were escorted out quietly. I went to apologize to the restaurant staff and the manager for causing a commotion. Actually, I had reserved the entire place so as not to disturb other guests. Mike, Sarah, and I returned to our table and enjoyed our meal from the main beef dish to dessert, savoring even Jennifer and Bob's portions. We left the restaurant both full and satisfied. When the police investigated Jennifer and Bob, it turned out they had many past crimes. The pair would use their partner's credit cards without permission, get them drunk to learn their PINs, and then run off with money from their bank accounts. Their modus operandi seemed to be working somewhere while looking for targets, robbing them, then quitting their job and moving to another place. There were already reports filed against them, but with lack of hard evidence and their frequent moves across the country, they managed to avoid detection. But this time, they finally got caught. The two were sentenced to prison, and naturally, Mike and Jennifer divorced. Even when Jennifer is released, she's gonna have to keep paying for her sins. After the property split, including the value of the condo and cars, she's left with $20,000. For someone who finds working diligently unbearable, it's a daunting amount. I hope Jennifer will change her ways and lead a decent life from now on. Seeing the shock Mike experienced from this incident, I purposely avoided mentioning it. Especially right after, he was deeply depressed, saying, "It's because I was so engrossed in work that I gave them an opening." I even troubled my mom. However, being assigned to manage a new project at work helped him regain his spirits. And 3 years later, Mike brought his fiancée home. She was a simple, kind-looking woman. They had reconnected at a high school reunion. Knowing her background was reassuring. I genuinely hope Mike finds happiness this time. Since the incident, I occasionally meet up with Sarah to chat. Though she's younger, we share similar tastes in books and movies, so we get along. I reserve her place for our choir group parties and invite her to our performances. We've maintained a friendly relationship. Sadly, we finished in 5th place in the national competition, but we've set a new goal to make it into the top 3 next time. I want to continue living modestly, fully enjoy my hobbies and social life, and lead a life true to myself.